So today what I'm going to share on is when you're trying to hang a flat screen TV and you've got a couple of studs, which in the beginning that sounds great, but the problem is when you go to mount your bracket, what happens is you want to put the bracket somewhere and it doesn't absolutely meet the studs. So in this case you can see on average they're usually somewhere in between 16 and 18 inches is usually what most studs are. In today's case, here's what we've got going. I've got a larger TV. I want to put it in a certain area, but the bracket actually doesn't go far enough to reach both the studs. In a case like this, there's a couple different ways you can do it so that you don't have to actually cut into the wall and put some studs or put something for the TV bracket to mount to behind the drywall or whatever the surface is you might be working with. So I'm going to try to explain how you can do this on the exterior of the wall. In some cases, what you can do is you can take these two parts and you can absolutely mount them together. You can use a bracket, you can use anything you need to do, but if the two top and bottom match, what you can do is you can go ahead and mount those together. You might have to substitute something for the bottom in order to get it to lock in there. Some people might not even use a bottom bracket. A lot of the weight and the structure is hung on the top of the bracket. In this case, you can mount these two together. Here's what I'm going to do in this situation. And I'm going to explain a couple more things. So when we're working with, this is the bracket that I've actually created to hang the TV. So this way the top structure is going to absolutely meet all the way across. We're going to be able to hit every stud, and then I don't have to go into the back of the wall. In doing so, there's a couple things you got to look for. On average, if you buy a bracket, it comes and it looks very similar to this. I'm going to show you on the side because when you look at these, the hang bracket that goes on the back of the television, they won't all work. These brackets are specific to certain things, and some, in this case, was meant for a bracket that hangs forward like so. So that will allow it to work. The only thing is, this is for a smaller television. So in this case, even if I wanted to use this bracket, I would have to find something that's going to utilize what you're trying to hang. And if you're going for, possibly a bigger TV or just even a medium-sized TV, you want to make sure that your bracket is going to be able to work on the situation for what you're creating. I say this because in this situation, that bracket would work. This bracket will not work. So it's going to make a difference what mounts to the back of your television. You're going to want to make sure that you have a gap that's maybe long enough for a piece of flat bar or however you create the structure. This works. So I have a couple of brackets here. I had some options in order to create what I'm doing today. In this case, if you come across something and you want to mount something to the outside of the wall without going into the wall, and a lot of us want to do that. It saves us, drywall, paint, mudding, and just any type of in-depth construction. And sometimes they might even need a licensing or a permit to go into the wall. And in some cases, if you're renting, you can't go into the wall. So you've got to be able to create something on the exterior of the wall. So you can use some of the TV parts that it comes with or some of the TV brackets. In some cases, you can even use angle iron, 90-90, but you will have to mount something for that third part to get the TV to hang on. If you can get a C piece of metal, this is great, but you need to make sure that it's thick enough, a thick enough gauge that it's not going to bend when you go to hang the TV. So we'll review it one more time. The bracket that was, handed over or passed for going to work with this situation was a bit small, and it isn't going to work out. So something has to be created so that we don't actually go into the exterior wall of the building, and we're going to create something on the inside there. So like I said, you can mount the two that you get together if they're not already mounted. In some cases, you might receive, something like this. And if you know that this is going to happen before purchasing your bracket, you might want to make sure to try to get a larger bracket. Maybe get something that, is in pieces so that you can puzzle piece it together and make it work for your specific situation. So in today's case, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna find these studs, we're gonna get this up there. This is a fairly larger TV, so I'm gonna get the parts hung up on the top, and then I will show you what I'm talking about once we get to the bottom, as far as like mounting the brackets. Yeah. Okay, so we've reached the intended goal. The bracket's mounted up on the wall. You know, as you can see, we were able to do it on the exterior of the wall without actually having to break through the surface. And, you know, our bracket's gonna fit up here like so. It's able to slide back and forth. We were able to catch all 3 studs. It's really good for the finished result. That's what we're looking for. Now, to accomplish a way to create a bracket that will allow this TV to lock. Okay, so I'm back for the second half of this flat screen TV. Hanging the flat screen TV without having to go behind the drywall and add extra material for strength. In this case, you know, as you can see, I wanted to mount the TV in a specific area. The bracket that I showed you earlier wasn't actually gonna fit to reach all 3 studs, so I've had to create a bracket. Here we are on the second part of how to create the bottom part of the bracket. So I've already actually created the bracket. This is gonna be the bottom part that's gonna hang in here, and all that is a couple of simple pieces of 90-degree angle metal. So you just take these 2 pieces, you can mount them together. You need to check to make sure if it will work with your specific bracket. All the TV brackets for the back are a little different. So if you have purchased it already, you're gonna wanna bring it with you and try to find a piece of metal that it's going to fit onto, because they only leave a certain amount of space. If you haven't purchased it already, make sure to be aware of that while you're making your purchase. So that's it. I mean, it's pretty simple. You just mount those 2 together. I did that with a couple of pieces of hardware. I tried to be a bit symmetrical. It just runs here across the top. Symmetrical, create a little bit of strength. So this way there's no flex or bend in here. I did also use a unibit to open the holes up. So this way I can fit a drill in there to run that impact. Let's get it on the wall. All right, so she's mounted. Let's see if it works out. What we want to see now is if these pieces actually clip in. We get a slight angle, goes up, it locks. It looks like we got a win-win situation here. Boom. There it is. We still have the given opportunity to slide it back and forth on the wall. custom created bracket so that you don't have to go into the wall if your bracket's not big enough. You can figure out a way to extend it. You can use a lot of different types of metal or different materials, whatever's going to be strong enough for you to create that. Things that will extend it so that you're able to reach each stud and actually get a secure mount to the wall. In this case, I've used the 90-degree angle iron. I've used another piece of 90 with some welds on it with a couple of L brackets just to create something that's what we call a C bar. And you know, that's it. I mean, you might use flat bar, you might use 90-degree, you might use C bar. Whatever you come up with, you can create something. A lot of this stuff you can get at your local local home improvement store. Things of, you know, the metals and things like that, so that you can create a couple of small pieces of hardware, snap that stuff together. In most situations, you shouldn't have to weld anything, but you can if you have those type of tools. So here we are. That's it. Hopefully I'll get to come back and show you the finished version. I got to get off to work. Thanks for watching.